We continue with our coverage on the government's response to illegal mining in the country. The Defence Minister, Thandi Modise, decrying the low conviction rate of illegal miners. The minister saying over 4,000 illegal miners have been arrested to date. Yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa confirmed the deployment of 3,300 soldiers to fight illegal mining in the country. This is going to be for a period of 6 months. But is the deployment the answer to this crisis, and are they equipped to deal with this? Let's try and answer that question with David Van Wyk, a mining expert who is with the Benchmarks Foundation. David, good morning to you, and thank you very much for your time. We'll talk in a moment about the low conviction rates that the Defence Minister is talking about. Let's start with the deployment of 3,300 soldiers. Do you think this is the answer?
Well, I don't think that this is the answer. You know, the Department of Mineral Resources is constantly not doing what it should be doing. And so we find at Jagersfontein, they blamed the Department of Water Affairs for that tailings that burst, and the whole thing was shifted away from them. Now the whole thing is being shifted to the safety and security cluster. You know, the problem is that we've got 6,000 abandoned mines, 3,000 soldiers. That means one soldier for every 2 mines. I just don't think the numbers add up. Apart from that particular fact, I don't see the army going underground with these guys everywhere. There's so much more that we could do with abandoned mines, which shouldn't have been abandoned in the first place. If the Department of Mineral Resources did its work over the years, there wouldn't be a single abandoned mine. There would be lots of closed and rehabilitated mines, or mines that have been repurposed for other purposes that could have been job creating and could have included communities and created a stable environment. We always react instead of being proactive in this country, and that's a problem.
David, the Minister of Mineral Resources, I remember talking to him at one point, and he mentioned huge figures about the amount of money that's being spent in order to close these mines, rehabilitate some of them. You're simply saying that doesn't go far enough.
No, you see, the thing is, there's a 50 billion rand mine closure fund. But the problem is that the Department of Mineral Resources simply caps these old mines. In other words, it puts a concrete slab over the top, which is easily, circumvented. And there's no rehabilitation whatsoever. All the old mining sites look like they've been in the war in Ukraine. You know, apart from which, these mine sites had very useful infrastructure. They had transport infrastructure. They had electricity infrastructure. They had training infrastructure. They had housing. All of that is gone. You know, if you go to Main Reef Road and you drive through the mining towns, they are all informal settlements now.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which is a big problem now, right at this moment, as 3,000 soldiers are being deployed, mining companies are retrenching thousands of workers. Sibanye, Zenco, Anglo, all of them, Seriti, they've all announced retrenchment notices to their workforce. Where do you think those workers are going to go? They don't know any other skills than mining. So when they finish there, and they might or might not get their UIF or their pensions, in most cases they don't get their pensions, something like 600 million rands in pensions are not being paid out every year. They are simply going to end up in the informal settlement right next to the mine or on top of the mine, and they're going to go down again.
Yeah. David, then that leads us to the criminal aspect. So you spoke about mineral resources. That talks to rehabilitating the mines and shutting them, at least some of them. Let's then talk the criminality of it. So here are the soldiers, 3,300 of them, and you've already said there are 6,000 abandoned mines, so that means one soldier per mine. The people who are conducting this criminal activity, we already know, based on reports, that they are heavily armed. The soldiers know nothing else, based on what a previous head of the soldiers said, and that is that the soldiers don't know policing. All they do is scop and donor. So, again, I ask you the question, do you think that this is the ultimate solution to the criminality in the mining space?
Well, I think the first criminality that occurred is the illegal abandonment of mines by big corporations, people sitting and enjoying the benefits of South Africa's wealth in London and New York and Tokyo and Beijing and so on. The second issue of criminality is the Zamazamas themselves are being run by syndicates. You know, if you go to George Harrison Park, the security syndicate there is from KwaZulu-Natal. They are Zulus. If you go to the other areas, you know, the criminal syndicates are often even security companies or labor brokers or subcontractors. And then in legal mines where ghost workers operate, the criminal elements sometimes are even the mine management stealing from their own mine, as in the case of the Far West Rand a couple of years ago, where mine managers were arrested for running a parallel operation to the mine at Blyvoor Eitzig mine. You know, so those aspects need to be dealt with. There's too much guns in our country that is floating around, and the government has no plan in which to control guns and the flow of guns in this country. The amnesties and so on that are given for people to hand in their guns is not the solution, because those are not the guns that are actually shooting people in these particular instances. You know, so the contestation for the shaft between syndicates is what leads to the arming. We need to actually do an audit of all the abandoned mines, all the mines that are about to close, and we need to work out how are we going to repurpose these things for alternative economic activities. It should not be a criminal issue. It should be seen as an opportunity for creating jobs. It should be seen as an opportunity for an orderly transition from mining to a post-mining economy. And no one is talking about that. You know, people are talking about guns, just like in the Western Cape, and the drug problem is still there in the Western Cape. The gang problem is still there in the Western Cape, because they shoot the people in the townships, but they don't shoot the people in the leafy suburbs like Houghton and Sandton and so on that are behind this thing.
So the ultimate solution to you, David Van Wyk, is to repurpose these mines, but also encourage what has been referred to, I think, by the Minister of Mines as artisanal mining. Is that the possible solution, so that you re-employ the very people that you're saying a little earlier are now possibly going to be retrenched?
Yes, I think so. That is the one thing. And then the other repurposing of the mines is these mines on the Rand are filling up with water. The water is going to spill out on top very, very soon. And it's all acidic and polluted. You can put water companies there to process that water for industrial use. We are a water scarce country. You're already water shedding in the Johannesburg area. Now, if you take out that water and use it for industrial purposes, then the other water can be used for drinking. You know, that is one use. We are load shedding. We can generate electricity in these old mines very easily. It's very easy to repurpose them for electricity. You can put solar farms on the toxic wasteland, the old tailings dumps and things like that, and you can actually be putting electricity back into the national grid at a very low cost. But no one is talking about that. No one is talking about planning. Everyone is talking about let's shoot the problem instead of let's transform the problem into an opportunity.
Yeah. All right. So innovation, I suppose, is what you are referring to, or innovative thinking. Let's conclude the conversation then, David, and talk about the low conviction rates. I remember not too long ago just how many of these illegal miners were arrested in that case of 8 women that were raped, allegedly by some of these. And many of them, they were released because they just could not be linked to the rape charge. But the minister is complaining that 4,000 of these illegal miners are arrested. But in all probability, a good number of them are going to be released. What do you think is the problem at convicting them?
Well, the problem really is that what do you charge them with? Trespassing on an abandoned mine? Nobody knows who's the owner of the mine anymore. And that is what they get charged with, and they get to court. They are charged with trespassing. And the magistrate simply throws out the case. They're not in possession of gold because they are in possession of rocks. They bring up bags of rocks. The bags of rocks get taken to other places where the rocks are then crushed and processed and the gold is extracted. But it's never at the point of the actual operation where the guys come up from underground. And that's why I say the policing is at the wrong point. Don't go for the guys underground. Go for the processing plants. Go for the scrap metal dealers. Go for the people who buy the rocks. Go for the people who buy the gold. Go for the people who put the gold back into the formal system and then take it out from there.
That's what the police minister, though, told us about an arrest that occurred in the Northwest, where he was saying that these are not the runners anymore. These are people who own flashy cars. There was money found on the property. There are properties that are allegedly linked to them. Was that at least, did the police at least go some distance there?
I think that is good. I think that they arrested middlemen in that case because the real guys don't even live in townships in big houses with flashy cars. The big guys live a step up in the suburbs. In that particular instance, it was a proper arrest. But they should go a step higher than those people. They should find out from those people who are the guys that they are selling onto. They should research the supply chain and the demand chain. And then you nip it in the bud at that particular level. But Meditech actually had created, for example, in the Kimberley area for diamonds, for small-scale artisanal cooperatives, they created workshops for people to manufacture jewelry. But the other departments did not want to participate, and so the project became a white elephant because there was no offtake for the jewelry that was being manufactured there because the Department of Trade and Industry wasn't interested and so on. The government departments are working in silos. This particular problem needs a comprehensive task team of all departments to say, how can we make small-scale artisanal mining meaningful for communities so that everyone benefits from it instead of the conflict that we are having now?
David Van Wyk with the Benchmarks Foundation, thank you very much for your insights on this. And that last element, or at least ahead of the artisanal mining aspect that David talks about, then he says this is a syndicate that runs these. And so he brings to mind the transnational organized crime that is also a major problem in our country. And so those are the people that I think David is referring to, those that sit much higher on this food chain.